More sheep, huh? So today, again, we hear Jesus being the Good Shepherd, and the image is that the sheep, different flocks would go into one sheepfold for the night, and the gatekeeper would keep them in. But then, how do they separate the sheep out at when morning comes and they need to take them out? Well, it was done because the shepherd would start speaking or singing and calling to them, and the sheep, having spent time with the shepherd and the shepherd with the sheep, knew the voice of their particular shepherd versus the other shepherds, and the call of this particular shepherd versus the other shepherds, and so would be able to would come out when he would call them. And the younger sheep, the baby sheep, how did they learn? They learned by watching the older ones, and the older ones who, their parents would say, okay, come on, this is the time. And so they would come and they'd recognize the voice of the shepherd. And this is our God saying to us, I am the shepherd. I am the good shepherd. My sheep hear my voice. They recognize it. And God speaks to us. A lot of times we don't know that He's even speaking to us, but He is speaking to us. And when we spend time in silence with our God, we start to recognize His voice, what He's asking of us. We start to be able to discern it from our own voice, which can sound very much the same, or the voice of the evil one, by spending time with him. And sometimes we can get upset, worried and say, okay, is this God? Is this me? Is this the evil one? Who is this? Well, you know what? God understands this struggle we have. And if we're not really sure, we can say, okay, God, I'm not sure if this is you or not, so, speak again, lead again, and, so that I can know if this is you or not. He's not going to be upset if we're like, oh, I'm not sure if this is me or is this God? What is this? So I'm not going to do anything. Well, but what if God gets upset? Well, just ask Him. Ask Him to make it clear, because I'm thinking about Christopher and Wendy West. When they were discerning about whether to get married or not, Christopher said, Lord, you know how thick of skull I am. He says, I need you to hit me over the head with a ton of bricks so that I know it's truly you that's speaking. And then I need you to hit me over the head with another ton of bricks so that I know that I didn't just imagine that first ton of bricks. And so when he asked for this sign, in one day, two people that didn't really know him or Wendy said, so when are you going to get married to Wendy? It's like, okay, there's the first ton of bricks, there's the second ton of bricks. That God recognizes that we can sometimes be thick of head. And so He invites us, though, to enter into that experience of trust, but also obedience, when we do know it's His voice. And the more we're obedient to His voice, the clearer we'll be able to hear His voice. But the key is, God is still speaking to us. He does still speak to us. Most often, it's not with audible voices. Most often, it's just in the silence of our hearts. And when we hear that voice, does it deserve discernment? Yes. We need to spend time in saying, is this God? Is this me? Is this the evil one? What is this voice? But we can trust that God does still speak to us, His beloved sons and daughters.